everybody, and welcome back to the Bee's Knees. I'm here with Jaymi.
Hi, I know you guys
basically my co-host. We had a very, very brief amount of time where Jaymi was not on an episode. I think I had an episode that is lost forever. We recorded. What did you record? Oh no, that was an episode you were on.
Which one was it?
We recorded a Disney song tier list.
That one's gone?
And I can't find it anywhere. It's gone forever and ever. If it's on a card, that card is 100% wiped by now. Like, I can't.
That was a really
It's tragic because it was such a good episode. But anyways, we are going to be talking about X-Men.
Yes, we are.
Because X-Men 97 has just started airing. And I have never been into X-Men. I was never, like I said, I've grown up in a house full of girls. As much as my dad was a nerd, like, he never tried to introduce me to hardly any of it until I was, like, grown up. And so I wasn't really reading any of the comics. I wasn't doing any of that. I had no exposure to the X-Men whatsoever, except for, like, maybe hearing about it once or twice in my entire life. And then I met Jaymi. And Jaymi does not shut up about superheroes.
For those who have watched any of the episode that I am in, I mentioned I grew up with a nerd father. He did push those onto me. The first movie I ever watched in theaters was Avengers. I've mentioned that before. But the first movie I've ever watched, I think, ever, was the original 2000s X-Men. And so X-Men have always had a very strong place in my heart. I recently started collecting X-Men comics, and I've always been reading X-Men comics. They are my favorite comic book team. And Scott Summers, Cyclops, is one of my favorite characters of all time. I love Cyclops so much. And with the new X-Men 97 show releasing, as of right now, we're episode 7 release?
I think so.
We've on episode 7. Episode 8 is releasing this week.
You keep yapping, I'll check.
You do that. I actually am not caught up on X-Men. I should be.
You really should be, because I am.
But I've been behind.
Anyways, that's what I was going to say, was I have been watching X-Men 97, and if you aren't at home, you should be. If you have any sort of even slight interest in superheroes, you probably will like X-Men 97.
It is very good from what I've watched
I had no introduction to any of the characters. I had no, nothing. I knew nothing going into it. Basically, I got, a very basic rundown of, who each character was and what their, ability is from Jaymi, and then that was it. And so I went in with no expectations, and I'm blown away. I really like it so far.
X-Men is easily my favorite comic team of all time. I love them all so much, and the show is doing an amazing job at capturing that
Z lied. It's episode 5.
What the heck? I wasn't. I was right.
I thought it was episode 5, but
they captured that family amazingly. And that was the reason why I always read them, was I loved the dynamic. I loved this family that was created. Now, when I was reading X-Men, the Professor X, this isn't a spoiler, this is how the show starts. Professor X dies.
Yes, it's in the trailer. It's literally in the trailer. That's not a spoiler.
It's how the original show ends. When I read X-Men comics, or the ones that I've read, Professor X is typically alive. He's typically a major part of the family. And so watching X-Men 97 was like reading the comics where Professor X dies and everything goes bad, except they get better. Yeah,
except it's not he's back.
Yeah.
There is no...
Yes, that is...
Which is absurd, which must be horrifying.
He dies every other comic. And then gets revived to the next. He's dead, and then he'll come back, and in the meantime, while he's dead, everyone just loses their minds. Cyclops is like, I can't be an X-Men anymore. Rogue one time became the new leader of the X-Men. It was Rogue and...
That's crazy.
It was Rogue and Kitty Pryde, who isn't even in the show, became the new leaders of the X-Men. I think not Cyclops. Colossus died. Something crazy like that.
I don't even know who that is.
The big metal guy. Do you know Big Metal Guy?
Nope.
What? You haven't seen Deadpool,
no.
Right? He's a big metal guy.
Yeah. Like I said, my exposure is very little, but I have really enjoyed...
This entire episode is going to be me doing... Do you know blank? No. What?
As any character name. Do you know blank? Absolutely not.
No. What?
Unless it's one of the main characters that has shown up yet. I don't know who they are.
That's 6 people.
Yeah. But of those 6 people, I have a lot of characters that I really like so far. I like Jubilee a lot. I like Rogue, and I don't know why, because as her character, I'm like, oh. Her character really just makes me with the choices she makes. There's something about her that I just love her.
Because even in the
I
comics,
loved Gambit. Poor man,
Gambit,
but I love him.
My Cajun King, I love him so much.
I feel so bad. Because you're not caught up, so it's so like.
Thing is,
oh my god.
Because I know the Rogue Magneto thing has been a thing in the comics for a very long time.
Yes.
That's something that's been going on.
I asked you if it was a romantic thing that was like happening with them, and you and Z looked me dead in my eyes, and you said no.
I don't want to spoil it.
And then
it is.
I was gonna say they talk. It's something that gets brought up in the later episodes. Is like, oh, we used to date.
Yeah, it is a little weird.
I figured that's what that was, and that is a little bit weird, but they kind of like explain why, and it kind of makes sense.
Now you can't make that not feel a little weird.
Yeah,
but like,
because he, like, in my mind, he's like going on 80.
You're right.
He's like ancient in my mind.
The X-Men 97 takes place like current day, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he was a Holocaust survivor. Meaning he was born, like, he was,
so
like...
he's, like, at least...
around 12 during the Holocaust. He was born probably around the, at max, mid-30s? 1930s?
So he's pushing 100.
He's pushing 100. He's an old man.
Wow.
The comics just were like, oh, well, he's a mutant, so...
so it doesn't matter. It doesn't count.
Yeah,
That's
very
so
odd.
funny.
I love Magneto on the show.
How far have you watched, Jaymi?
Okay.
Like, what's the last plot thing that's happened?
The last thing that I watched was when Jean got, like, taken over by Sinister. And, the second clone Jean.
Yes.
That. I watched that full episode.
What happened at the end of that episode? Just to make sure that I don't spoil anything for you.
I don't remember. All I remember was... It was like, oh, God, we went back to Jean... giving birth. No. Yes. Because Jean, the clone Jean, real Jean, I guess, was with...
Spoilers for the show,
Spoilers for the show. We should have said that at the beginning. Well, spoilers for the show.
I'll put, like, a little insert.
Yeah. Real Jean was with Wolverine, and then she was like, I gotta go out there and fight, blah, blah, blah. And then she went into clone Jean's mind, who at this point was, like, evil, and it was like, that. You know that?
Yeah.
That's it. Thing is, I also do know who Nathaniel Summers is. I know Cable.
See, I feel like there's only I feel like I can talk about a lot more of what happens in these episodes because you know a lot about what happens in
most of this.
Because did you get to the part with everything with Bishop where he like
took Nathan
back to the future?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're doing Cable. That's cool.
There's why you're like your little. Oh my God, you were complaining because you didn't like that Bishop was in the show because you were like, why is he here? Bishop. And then he left in like episode 3. So
I'm
it's
glad
okay.
he did because I just hate Bishop. But I was like, I was like, oh, that's Cable. We're just doing Cable now. That's really cool. I like Cable a lot. I was like,
I don't know. See, I don't know what's happening with that. I'm just like, oh my God, like a child. a child. He's gone. He's in the future now. That's it.
He was in the trailer for the new episode that's coming out because I saw it on Instagram. He is Cable is coming back. I don't know if he's already back or not.
You see him as because there's like a scene where like this random character shows up and he looks kind of like how you would imagine Nathan looking when he grows up. And then Jean Grey is there and he goes, "I'm sorry, Mom." And then that's why I was like, oh, it's him.
The thing with Cable is that I love Cable a lot. I'm a big Cable enjoyer, and for those who have not read the comics,
and also for me because I don't know who Cable is, other than like my context.
And for those who haven't watched the show either, first off, why are you watching this? Second off,
go watch the show right now. Don't watch the rest of this. Don't listen to the rest of this.
But if you haven't watched the show, Cable is the son of Jean Grey and Cyclops. He gets brought to the future because he has some virus. In the comics, it's a little different as to why he's in the future. I actually can't really remember. I know it's just like he just has to go to the future, and it's Bishop's. And it's Bishop's fault. Bishop does something, and he's like, "Oh, I got to take the future because I'm Bishop. I'm the worst." But then he comes back, and he's this like guy from the future, and he got this little prophecy that's being like, "Hey, there's gonna be some people on Earth that are gonna destroy the future, so we gotta stop doing that." And he's like, "Whoa, okay, let me go back in time, kill these guys now, and then my future will be safe." And then he realizes, "Oh, I can't do that because the guys who are gonna blow up everything in the future, they're X-Men." And it's like a whole thing, and it's like, now I guess I'll just be cool, and I'll make sure they don't do that by not killing them. It's really weird. Like, there's like, going back in time to like, to stop bad people. And instead of like doing that, he just goes back in time and is like cool with them, so they aren't evil anymore. Which honestly, it works.
Hey.
And that was the plot of Deadpool 2. Was he went back in time to stop this kid, And then
I
he
haven't
realized,
watched
wait,
Deadpool
what if I don't
movies.
stop this kid? What if I include this kid? I believe the kid in Deadpool 2 was Sunspot. Let me actually look that up.
I don't know
real
who
quick.
that
I will
is
look
as
that
a
up.
character.
Sunspot, he's in the show.
Is
He's the new guy. That's Sunspot.
oh
Yeah.
See, he doesn't have a hero name right now.
not
He's
gonna
just
I forget his name.
What's his name?
I don't know. I actually don't know his name.
I don't know his
can't
name.
remember.
I can't remember. Oh,
It's the guy.
But him and Jubilee.
They're cute. I don't like it though. I don't like it though.
You don't like it
I
though.
don't like
See,
it.
you know the characters, so you
Yeah.
understand. How
I
much do you
get it.
care about like spoilers for the most recent?
Don't give me the major plot points.
Okay.
But if I can assume things.
Okay, so you would be able to assume that that guy and Jubilee end up
Yeah,
like
duh.
that guess.
Yeah. Oh my.
I'm very excited for it.
Who does he
We
play?
don't think that that's gonna be a
Rusty
permanent thing though,
Collins. I
which
forget his name is Rusty.
is unfortunate. He was another one of the characters I really like. Hopefully he
Sorry, it's not Sunspot.
Gets
it's
cool.
Fire Fist.
Okay.
Different character, exact same powers.
great. Hopefully he like gets slightly cooler because right now he's kind of like a jerk, but
He's
like,
always the worst, and that's why I don't like him. It's the only reason why I don't like Bishop is that like even in the comics they never
and
get a redemption.
Wolverine is such a different character than I'm used to seeing him portrayed, and I kind of like it.
This is Wolverine.
I kinda
This,
like it.
As a major X-Men fan,
He's-
this is Wolverine. The Hugh Jackman movies, look, I get it. Wolverine's a cool
He's
character.
so head over heels for Jean Grey. It's like
Yes,
painful to watch.
He's in love with her.
It's painful to watch.
It's so hard to watch. It is the hardest to watch.
Mm-hmm.
He's in love with that woman, and she just
He's so-
cannot love him back.
No, never. He's so like in my mind, obviously, like he's just a like little crusty little man.
He is.
And
Yes.
I feel like I don't know. I just want to see him win. I don't understand it. I don't understand.
Like,
I don't
I-
understand why I like him as much as I do, and I think it's because I empathize real hard with him being in love with Jean Grey.
That's real. I think I'm at a point like I love seeing Wolverine pine over this woman who just cannot love him back. Just she
She's
is
in love with
so
Cyclops.
madly in love with her husband. Mm-hmm. They're
Good.
never, ever, 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 ever getting it together. Wolverine knows that, and that is so fun to watch. I love seeing that man fight because also Wolverine's also the worst. Like he's also just like a mean guy,
Yeah.
and he never like sure he has his moments, but he's just a mean guy, and I like seeing him not win because of that. My biggest when I was watching the show, the thing that surprised me the most was all the stuff with Storm in episode 1 or 2. I don't remember. When
What
Storm
about
lost
it?
her powers.
Oh, you have seen that.
have
Okay.
seen it,
I
yes.
thought that was episode 3.
No. That's episode. I believe it might be the end of episode.
Yeah,
1.
that was like really
That was episode
soon
2.
too. That was like that happened and I was like
Very quickly.
this soon in.
I was thinking the same thing. They're doing like Storm losing her powers this early.
I don't know if that is like a comic significant thing or if it's like a new
It's not
thing.
that it happens like. There's times where all the X-Men lose their powers. There's a thing with like the no mutants thing where the mutants just didn't exist anymore. That happened. Scarlet Witch was like, she's literally said no mutants, and then she just erased the mutant race.
Great.
It was crazy. But like it doesn't happen on that level where like one member of the X-Men loses their powers and they're just gone.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't
like
happen.
she
She's
packed
just-
up and she left.
she just
She's got her
left.
own storyline now
that
and
was
it's crazy.
Crazy. Because like I love Storm so much as a character. Like not even as a spirit, as like.
You love the goody two shoes characters.
Yes,
I've
I do.
noticed that.
Yes, I do. I love characters who have a strict moral code and they stick to it, and I also agree with their moral code. I like
Okay.
characters that I like. Cyclops is like that. He's such
he
a
is.
Boy Scout.
He's a little Boy Scout.
He's a
Yeah,
Boy
it's
Scout,
like
and
Superman.
I love him. He's my favorite. But like she's
love-
up and left.
I love our fun, like, could potentially be morally gray, but are still, like, in their hearts good characters. Like Gambit.
Gambit's
He's
fun.
so fun.
You know what's funny? He's not my favorite though.
He's so cool.
I will say a character that I wish
He's got some
actually-
freaky hair.
He is some freaky. He's a freak.
He is a freak.
There's
I
some
feel so
characters
bad
I
for him,
wish-
like, watching him, like, be in love with Rogue, and then Rogue just, like,
Because Rogue
Nah,
loves him
sugar.
too, but like
all day.
nah, sugar. There's some characters I wish were in the show. I am severely disappointed with the lack of Iceman content we've been getting recently.
I haven't even seen him
He's
at
not in
all.
the show, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Iceman's really cool. He's one of the starting 5 members. Not in the show. Neither is Angel, to my knowledge. I think Angel
I don't even know who that is.
Might have been, if you can guess what Angel's power is.
Wings.
Wings.
Wow.
Whoa, it's crazy. His name is Warren Warrington. Warren.
What?
Warrington. Warren Worthington Worth the Third.
That's a horrible name.
WWW 3.
That's just a URL.
Also, the worst. Take Sunspot's character. Just Sunspot. He's just Sunspot, actually. No, I'm thinking about it. That, like, rich kid, I don't want to be here. I'm my own personal robot. That's just Angel. Except his dad, like, hates mutants. It's a whole thing. The show is really good. However, I do think the comics are still better. Though the show is very good. I'm going to give some background on the comics. There's some crazy comic things that happen.
Yes, please.
And I want to talk about some of these because this is insane. I recently have read
some of them eventually.
Ultimate X-Men. And Ultimate X-Men was written by this guy, Brian... Oh, God, what's his last name? I can't think of his
Right,
full
don't
name.
look for me for help.
Brian... Oh, God, I met him. I should know this.
You met him?
I did meet him.
Wow.
Brian... Oh, God, I feel really bad. Ultimate X-Men.
What happens if he sees this?
Author. He won't watch this. Brian, if you're watching this, I'm sorry.
My viewership has been going down.
Oh, my God. Did he not write it? He didn't write it. I lied. He wrote Ultimate Spider-Man. So actually, I was wrong. It was written by some guys. And there's this thing Brian Michael Bendis, that's his name. Mm-hmm. There's this thing in Marvel Comics called the Ultimate Universe, where Marvel in like the 2000s was like, our comics are kind of convoluted, and people can't really get into them because we've been having comics for like 50 years. Right. Let's reboot everything, start from the ground up, and let's just start over again. And they did that with the Ultimate Universe. They started with Ultimate Spider-Man. It was really, really good. Ultimate Spider-Man, I've mentioned, is my favorite comic of all time. Mm-hmm. It is amazing. And then they did Ultimate X-Men. Ultimate X-Men started really weird, but good. Really, really, really weird, but good.
What do you mean by weird?
Jean Grey wasn't this like 20s ambiguous age, older 20 to 30. She was 17.
Oh.
I don't remember how old Cyclops was. He was in his 20s. But also, they weren't really together. Not at the start, at least.
Okay.
Wolverine and G were together at the start. They had a real thing. And if you know anything about Wolverine fought in World War II.
Yeah, he's like at least 50.
Old.
He's old. He's old.
Jean Grey was 17. And they were like, yeah, that's that good stuff.
This is he right here.
We're cooking. It was really weird. Beast also wasn't like a guy that became super big and hairy and blue. He just became
Beast.
hairy and blue.
He's so fun.
He was already just like a gigantic guy.
Oh, that was his normal size, just casually.
Yep. He was just this acrobatic, super animal-like just guy who then just became blue. And he was like, I'm a freak now.
I'm a freak.
Now that I'm
you
were already 320 pounds and like 6'5", and you were maybe 6 feet wide. Like, he was gigantic. Mm-hmm. But like, now he's a freak because he's blue. Whatever. I'm making fun of it a lot. It's very good. Mm-hmm. However, comma. Started out really good. The Sentinels, which were in the first episode, really solid. That always works. Sentinels always work with X-Men. That's their whole thing. Then they got to Magneto. And in this time in comics, they didn't really know how to write Magneto. They were like, Magneto is a villain, and that's all he is. He is just a villain.
Which doesn't, like, even in the show, that doesn't work for his character, because he's like, he's just trying to prove his point. He's so complex. He is, and like, you can see him like struggle with his moral dilemmas of like, he wants to like show the world how like, through any means necessary, that like mutants deserve a life here. Yes. And he will use violence to do it, but now that he's like in charge of the X-Men, he's like, I need to like emulate Charles Xavier. Yes. And I can't always resort to violence when I want to.
The show does an amazing job. Mm-hmm. An amazing job.
I do really like his character. Like, as a, like, potential, like, ex-villain, like, it's really cool to watch him, like, go through his things mentally. It's very cool.
He was one of my favorite villains in comics, except for in Ultimate X-Men. Because also, once again, for those who haven't watched the show, and maybe just haven't picked up on those nuance, when the comics were being written, they were being written in the late 60s or early 70s. Right. When the X-Men comics were first being written, when Magneto and Professor X were created. They were meant to be the comic equivalents of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. That was their character dynamic, and it works really, really well. I think it's really, really cool, especially when they lead into that really hard, like the show does. Mm-hmm. They were like, what if Professor X was just good and Magneto was just bad? And so it's like, I want to help the mutants in the best way that I know how. And also, I've seen the worst of humanity because I'm a Holocaust survivor. Mm-hmm. They're like, I'm going to blow up the White House.
Jamie's doing like a mustache
I'm twiddling my finger. He is so cartoonishly evil for no purpose. He wants to kill Charles Xavier for no reason.
Great.
He just wants to do it. And it's so weird because like I get it, dude. You're angry. Mm-hmm. Give us more to work with.
Yeah.
He's just an angry guy.
We need something.
We need something. He's just angry. Like he has the whole Rogue thing, and then when he comes back, Rogue's like, oh, but I used to blah blah blah. It was like weird, and then like he got with Rogue out of spite. He didn't even like her. He just did it because he didn't want Gambit to like be happy. He's just
no, my boy.
he was like, I could damage the X-Men by getting in Gambit's head. He's just evil. He's just a monster for no reason.
Darn.
There's a time where in the show where he like picked up the judges like thing, like episode 2, I think. He picked up the food in space.
He puts them in space and it's like
he does that with like an entire island at some point. And he makes it like his island, and it's like the island of M, or like the M island or whatever. It's just slavery. It's just an island of actual slavery. For no reason!
I was gonna say, because when he does it in the show, it's like, and you're gonna listen to me now, and here's what I have to say, and either I'm gonna drop you and kill you,
or you're gonna listen. That scene was incredible.
That was really, it was so good.
Don't make me disappoint you. That's a line. That's good. There are some crazy moments.
He's got some fire monologues. He's got some banger monologues.
There are some things in that comic that I can't talk about on this podcast.
Because you know, will it show up?
No, because this is in school.
Oh, yes, we have to keep it PG.
Insane things that happen, which I'll talk to you about after the episode.
Yes,
insane.
Please.
All I can say is, if you're an X-Men fan, make sure you're a really big X-Men fan before you read Ultimate X-Men. It almost ruined it for me. I was like this close to being like, I hate the X-Men. And then,
wow,
it's so bad.
That's crazy.
Because it starts out so good, and then it gets so bad. They brought in Kitty Pryde, who, for those at home who don't know, Kitty Pryde...
And also me. You've talked about Kitty Pryde a lot, but...
Kitty Pryde is my favorite X-Men. She has the ability to run through walls. That is her whole ability.
That's it?
But
that's cool.
But she is the most well-rounded, genuine, like, fun character. Take, like, Jubilee and make her
like
even
sane.
More fun. Sane, even more fun. It's also dating Colossus, which I think is adorable, even though it's a little weird. Their age difference is a little weird. But it's still fun.
What's their age difference?
I think Colossus is in like his. By the time Jubilee comes around, Kitty Pryde comes around, he's like in his mid-20s, and Kitty Pryde's like 17.
Ooh, it could be worse. It could be worse.
It could be Wolverine and
it
Jean,
could be,
which was 17 and like 60.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's whatever. It's so good, and then it gets really bad. Kitty Pryde was there. And instead of being like, oh, I'm Kitty Pryde, and so because of that I'm keeping the team grounded, she just starts saying slurs. For those at home, Shelby just like sat up in the chair shocked. She says actual real life slurs in that book for literally no reason. Because
the writers got bored.
They got bored. The Ultimate Universe collapsed and died. The one thing it did give us, though, it gave us one cool thing, and that was Ultimate Spider-Man, which I mentioned. Which, I don't know if you know the Ultimate Spider-Man. There's Ultimate Spider-Man, then the Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh.
Ultimate Spider-Man was the comic series.
Right.
The Ultimate Spider-Man is a character. Miles Morales.
Yes.
He was born through the Ultimate Spider-Man line. It was really, really cool. That's the only good thing to come out of that. That lasted for, 15 years?
That's insane.
Only good thing to come out of it. It
That's
ended,
insane.
5-6 years ago.
Dang.
Good riddance. It's terrible. But back to X-Men. Mm-hmm. There's some very, very, very good storylines, and from what I've seen, the show is doing them. All of them.
Good.
Which is so
I love it. I love it when my media condenses everything I need to know about every character into because every episode happens and there's always some major character development.
Yes.
For any random character. Sometimes it's multiple characters. Sometimes it's just one. And it's always great. I've never been disappointed by an episode of this show. Thus far, I have not.
I've only seen the first 3 episodes. But by episode 2, we got Sinister. We got introduction to...
Which I don't really know Sinister's whole deal. It was kind of glazed over a little bit, I will say, but...
He is easily the most plain evil villain, and I think comics...
they literally just described him as, he's just an evil, evil man. And then they moved on, which normally they do give a solid explanation for everyone, but...
He's just evil.
That's it? That's his whole thing?
His whole thing was evolution. Because every X-Men villain's about evolution. He's I want perfect evolution, and because of that, I need, humanity needs to go bye-bye. Only mutants, blah, blah, blah. He wants to kill all humans. And but also, at some point, he stops caring about that. In the comics, genuinely, he is, and this is not even a me thing, this is how he's written, to be obsessed with Jean Grey and Cyclops' relationship. Every time they are happy, he makes his personal mission to make sure they're not happy.
Oh, good.
To the point where he, one time, he faked being Cyclops so that he could divorce Jean Grey. And then just left!
And that was it.
That was all he did. Do you know how evil you have to be to do that?
That's your only goal. Like, you are only doing this just... That's
He just
crazy.
hates them so much.
That's kind of funny. Yeah.
He just hates them so much.
Imagine being a villain with like actual real superpowers, and you use them to make a singular couple miserable.
There are 3 villains in comics that do that, and they're my 3 favorite villains in comics of all time. There are Mr. Sinister, who does that. Green Goblin, whose whole thing is Peter and MJ. That man could not catch a break. And then there's Reverse Flash with the Flash. He only exists because he hates the Flash. He has so much spite in his heart that every time he dies, this eternal Speed Force thing that's like, hey, we created the universe. He has so much hate. They're like, you can't die. You have too much hate in your heart. You can't die. We have to bring you back. For the balance of the universe, we have to bring you back. Miss Sinister, worse than that. He is just evil. He is immortal. That's his other power, that he's just immortal. He can't die.
His powers, immortal, evil.
His powers, immortal and evil. He's also just really smart because he's been around since like the 1600s. He creates clones of himself all the time. The clones don't do a thing.
He's just doing it for fun.
Yes, he does everything for giggles. He doesn't care about anything, just being evil. I love him so much. And I was like,
that's such a good.
They're doing Sinister episode 3. They're not giving us like the Brotherhood of Mutants. No, like Juggernaut and having that, because Juggernaut is Professor X's brother. And Professor X just died, but Juggernaut's still out there. Not doing anything with that. They're not giving us more Sentinels. Going straight to Sinister. Okay, let's see how this does. And it was amazing. It was really good. I know Cable is back as of the new episode, which by the time this goes out, it won't be a spoiler.
Yeah, by the time it goes out, and like
you looked at your non-watch.
I've never wanted to watch in my life. It's going up in like an hour.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, never mind.
It's not a spoiler. It's a trailer. Cable's back, which is cool, and I was like, oh, that's neat. Cable came back 2 episodes later. That means they're really rushing things. But from what I've heard, the pacing's incredible.
It somehow works. I don't understand how it works. Well, because it's like time stuff. They're messing with time stuff, and so they show up and they're like, hey,
we're in the future, lol.
It's only been like a day for you, but it's been years for us.
Now I should mention, because we haven't mentioned it yet, the X-Men movies. Because there are so many of them.
Are there? I haven't heard of any of them.
There's X-Men 1, 2, 3. There is First Class, Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, Phoenix, and then Logan. And
oh my god.
1 and 2. So that's 10 X-Men movies since 2000. That's like that's on average 1 every 2 years. There are 4 good ones.
Oh.
There's X-Men 1. Mm-hmm. Actually 5. X1, X2, First Class, Logan, Deadpool.
Oh, I guess that does count as an X-Men movie.
Technically.
Does it? Do any of the X-Men characters show up, or is it just Deadpool?
Colossus shows up. And
I guess like
shows up.
Wolverine shows up now. I guess.
Wolverine shows up in the new one, but like it is definitely Juggernaut shows up, and he was in the old movies. It's definitely X-Men adjacent, and it is canon, but it's Deadpool, so like whatever. The X-Men movies do this thing where they were also made in the 2000s at the same time as Ultimate X-Men, when Ultimate X-Men was still good. They were like, oh, the X-Men are too cartoony. They can't be made into movies. We have to make them serious. And so instead of making them like the show, they made them all wear black leather. All in black leather. James Marsden played Cyclops. James Marsden played that guy in Sonic, the man, and the guy. I guess he was also in Enchanted.
Just that guy.
He was the man in Sonic.
Great.
He played Cyclops, and instead of making Cyclops cool, they made Cyclops a loser. He was just a loser. Because Wolverine was flirting with Jean the whole time, and Jean was, like, into it, and Cyclops was just, like, there, being like, hey, hands off my girl. And then... Oh. But then, like, Wolverine and Jean kissed every movie. They made Wolverine the main character, which is lame to me.
Of all the characters, as much as I do love Wolverine right now, like... Yeah. Of all the characters to make the main character, it should not be Wolverine as he is written in the comics.
Gambit wasn't in any of those movies. Rogue was the other main character of the first movie.
Doesn't she have like just like straight flat hair.
Oh yeah, she has
in
the
one of
straight
them.
hair with a single strand of like white.
Bring her iconic hair
Yes.
into these movies.
And
I'm begging
she
you.
wasn't like this like 20-something like
cool,
bombastic,
full of
like,
life.
She was a moody teenager.
Boo.
They made Jubilee when she first joins the X-Men
Mm-hmm.
into Rogue. They just gave her a new coat of paint and said that she's Rogue, which is so lame. That is so lame. But also that doesn't make any sense. Because First Class needs to feature past. The whole thing is that it goes back in time. It's like it's the past. So it's when Professor X still has hair. It's when Beast first joins the X-Men. Like we see like a young Cyclops and stuff. And there's a scene in that movie where Cyclops is talking to Jubilee. Jubilee.
She's like a teenager. She would not have.
Yeah, before. And this movie takes place 20 years in the past.
She would not have been alive.
She wouldn't have been alive for another 20 years. What are you talking about? What? It was so weird. How did they forget? What? We gotta wrap up soon.
We do. Darn.
Yeah. I feel like I just got on the.
You,
on the topic of the
this is
movies.
always how it happens. We start with the bar. Oh my god.
Try again.
The ball starts rolling. There we go. And then we always have to end. But this has been fun. I do really enjoy X-Men, and if you're anything like me and has no clue about the comics but still would like to get into certain stuff like this, X-Men 97 is
Watch
a great
97.
start. I'm not confused about anything. They do a great job explaining who the characters are. They do a great job introing that. It's great. It's great. I love it.
After you watch X-Men 97, watch X-Men Evolution, another animated show came out at the same time. It was like take all the X-Men characters, but they're all high school teenagers.
Ooh, that'll be next up on my list then.
Really good.
All right.
And Nightcrawler's in it.
Yes! Okay. Thank you guys for listening. If you've made it to the end, thank you, Jaymi, for yapping with me.
How could I say it?
You can't physically.
I am legally bound to be here on every episode that you request me on.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.